This explainer video about how we visualize actions in our trajectories. So what you see in front of you here is a plot for a single salesperson. And what it shows on the x-axis is time. Okay, in this case, week by week. On the y-axis, we have a set of actions. And this is a demo example. For us, an action typically is a recommendation, but here we group them just for clarity by recommendation type. So we have here a set of 30 actions as demo, and time on the x-axis. Each dot here shows which action was chosen in the given week. If you see a dot in a line, it means that the first action that was chosen, for example, was read deals WDM%. We also have some color coding here. So most here are gray, which means there's a low reward. Our reward function has two parts in a short-term reward that's metric-driven and a long-term reward that's problem-driven. The long-term rewards are much higher, but also much rarer than the short-term rewards. So gray means it's a short-term reward only, no long-term reward. Red means a negative long-term reward. It means that something has happened that's created a problem that didn't appear before, but has now appeared again. And green shows a positive long-term reward, i.e. a thing that was a problem has now been solved. Let's talk through the story of this plot and this journey, this salesperson, and kind of give you a feel for what this really means in practice and how we use this. So this salesperson starts out on their journey with CoachEm. They have a problem, right? A challenge that's arisen. Could be that they're not getting enough deals, could be that the deal's taking too long to sign. In this case, it's a deal volume problem that we're simulating here. So at some point, you see we get our first green dot. So after about 4 months, we get a green dot. This means that the problem now been solved, or the metrics show that the problem has been solved to some reasonable degree. Well, that's fantastic. But then what happens, and this is not very surprising, if someone's had a problem solved, they're kind of on that cusp point. So a few weeks later, while we get a red dot, that means the problem has happened again. It's come back. That's not wonderful, but not surprising. A person who's on the cusp might sort of slip back and forth a bit before they push through it. And we do indeed see that about a month and a half later, the problem has now been solved again, and hopefully in a more robust way this time. What we then see is we see just, short-term rewards, no big negative rewards occurring to show that the problem has recurred for quite a while. About a year later, though, we do see an example where the problem seems to recur. Okay, we get this big negative reward showing, okay, the problem's back, right? The deal volume's dropped again below an acceptable threshold. So we punish that, we give it a negative reward. But then what happens is about a month later, the problem is solved again. So the hope being the recommendations have come in that have actually upped that person. The coaching has happened with the sales manager that has brought that person back up to where they need to be. So how do we use this in practice, right? This tells a great story. Well, for us, what we're often interested in is hinge events or high leverage events, right? Actions or sets of actions in this case, really, because actions aren't all independent, that are going to result in a positive or indeed a negative outcome. So we can look at, say, the positive points when problems get solved. By looking at the sets of actions, the action sequence that occurs just before that happens, maybe for the month or so beforehand, we can start to see patterns, as can our reinforcement learning model, in, okay, these action sequences tend to lead to good outcomes occurring. And vice versa, we can then look at the actions that occur before a big negative event happens. Problem occurrence, say, okay, did something happen in the metrics or our recommendations that was less effective in that instance? It's a great tool for helping our system and indeed us learn about the sorts of things that are most impactful, most effective to really, move the needle for those salespeople. So that's what this plot does for us. It gives us nice stories about the salespeople that we can use, and magically could even use this to sort of get some input into how the salespeople are doing. And it really helps us identify the most important event sequences, action sequences that lead to the best results for salespeople or for specific salespeople in the system. Thank you very much.